Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'll just wait for a couple of seconds for additional people to join our webinar, and we will be starting in a... Okay, we are reaching about 80 plus attendees, so let's just start because we have a lot to cover today. So good afternoon and welcome everyone to this webinar co-organized with between KMDIA and APAC Med. Webinar's title for today is Korea's Digital Medical Product Act. We will be having some updates from our speakers from o.MDRex, and we'll be moving to panel discussions. So without further ado, let me go through the technical details for today's webinar. So just for your information, this webinar is currently being recorded. The slides at the recording of the webinar will be shared with all of you after the events. If you have questions during the session, so you can use either the chat or the Q&A that we have. We'll try to cover your questions during the moderated discussions later, but if we don't have time to answer them, happy to follow up by email and answer them at a later stage. So feel free to ask any question you would have. Yes, after the question, we'll be sharing a few email addresses as well. So feel free to contact any of us if you need any further details or have questions after the webinar. So for this session, you have the list of the presenters and panelists that you will be hearing, and we'll move into more details and introduction of each of them at a later stage. But just to overview the agenda for today's webinar, we'll be starting by an introduction of APAC Med and KMDIA, in case you're not familiar with our associations. Moving into the presentation itself for about 30 minutes, a panel discussion, and some closing remark from Sunny from KMDIA. So briefly about APAC Med, again, in case you're not familiar with our association. So APAC Med is a regional trade association that represents the medical device and IVD companies. So APAC Med is the unifying voice of the medtech industry in the APAC region. And our mission as a trade association is to improve the standards of care for patients in APAC through collaboration with the different healthcare stakeholders. APAC Med started 10 years ago. It's actually our 10th anniversary this year. So we moved from 14 founding members at the time to over 350 members now in 2024. So we grew quite a lot. And I believe most of you, or many of you today, are part of our community. And we are based, headquartered in Singapore, but we also have offices in India and China. Just to overview the different committees and work that APAC Med covers in the region. So I'm leading our regulatory affairs committee, but we also have other committees and work that we do focusing, for instance, on market access, government affairs and policy, health data, legal ethics and compliance. We do have quite a big startup group with, I believe, over 150 startups throughout the region. And we do have separate working groups focusing on topics like ESG, IVD, and artificial intelligence. So that was a brief introduction about APAC Med. Happy to answer any questions you would have, or if you're interested to hear more, feel free to contact me. And I will hand over directly to Sunny for an introduction of KMDIA.
Thank you, Cindy, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to briefly introduce KMDIA. Next, please. I'm Youngwoo, and I'm taking the lead of the International Affairs team at KMDIA. As the name of International Affairs team explains, my team covers from cooperation with KMDIA's global partners to industries, activities in the global regulatory harmonization, including IMDRF and GHWP. KMDIA is the leading organization and collective voice of medical device manufacturers, importers, and innovators in South Korea. And this year marks the 25th anniversary. And please see this organization chart. As you can see, 9 committees on the left are established under BODs, and we have 13 teams. Next, please. KMDIA has more than 1,000 membership companies ranging from local manufacturers importers. So KMDIA is the biggest association related to medical devices in Korea. Next, please. This is what KMDIA works for. Due to the time restraint, I will not go into details of each work. So please see this slide. And next, please. KMDIA has partners in and outside of Korea. As you can see, within Korea, KMDIA's network expands to academy and hospitals. Next, please. And for overseas network, we are closely work with associations, as you can see in this slide. In each continent, KMDIA has a partner association, and we are open to building up new network with various stakeholders outside of Korea. If you'd like to cooperate with us, please let me know. Next, please. Like APEC-Med's case, KMDIA has committees, as you can see in this slide, and specific issues and agenda on the industry or regulation are handled by each committee with cooperation with its corresponding regulatory bodies, or even with the National Assembly. And I think you can notice what each committee does from its name. Next, please. Sorry, previous, please. And as a person from International Affairs Committee today, I'm pleased to see the inter-committee collaboration. Panelists today represent committees of reimbursement, regulatory affairs, and industry innovation. Thank you for your contribution. And next, please, Cindy. And if you have any questions, please contact me. My email address is in this slide. Now I'd like to give the floor to the speaker.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Wonwoo Lee from o.MDRex. Today I will briefly discuss about the new Korean legislation, Digital Medical Products Act. After a short introduction about o.MDRex, I will go over the relations of Digital Medical Products Act with other laws, explain the actual structure of the new act, then discuss the relevant government authorities, and lastly, highlight some considerations in reimbursement listing upon the act's upcoming enforcement. So o.MDRex, we are a Korea-based boutique medical device consulting firm providing a one-stop solution for medical device and digital health companies. We provide inbound and outbound services, and our service area ranges from market research to strategy buildup for market entry, product approval, KGMP certification, reimbursement listing, new health technology assessment, and innovative device and technology determination. We also support clinical trials with collaborations with our partner CROs and provide Korea license holding services for foreign manufacturers as they require a legal importer to commercialize their products in Korea. We also support international market expansions in, for example, Japan, EU, the US, Taiwan, Thailand, etc. Just to highlight some of our experiences, we have successfully provided our service to medical device and digital health companies concerning various classes and types of medical devices, including AI, SAMT, balloon catheters, robotics, 3D printed devices, DTX, etc. So if you have any questions or require consultation regarding Korean market entry, please feel free to contact us at the email provided below. So allow me to describe the relations of Digital Medical Products Act with other laws. Because the Digital Medical Product Act is a newly enacted legislation, it is important to understand its relations with other existing statutes. Existing legislations include, in large, the Medical Devices Act and the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act, but also In Vitro Diagnostic Medical Device Act and the Act on the Safety of and Support for Advanced Regenerative Medicine and Advanced Biological Products, in short, Advanced Biologics Act. Just as a background, as shown on the slide, the In Vitro Diagnostic Medical Device Act lies within the Medical Devices Act. This is because in the past, in vitro diagnostic medical devices used to be regulated in accordance with the Medical Devices Act. With the introduction of the In Vitro Diagnostic Medical Device Act in 2020, pre-management matters such as product approval started being regulated under the In Vitro Diagnostic Medical Device Act. But for post-management matters such as recalls, administrative fines, reporting adverse events, etc., the Act also refers to the Medical Devices Act. This is also the case with the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act with the introduction of the Advanced Biologics Act. Now, in recent years, there have been a lot of advancements in medical products with IT, AI, robotics capabilities, and attempts to regulate such devices under the existing legislations cause clashes and confusion. It can be said that the Digital Medical Products Act was introduced to resolve such issues and confusions, and also to bring into law some matters that were previously covered under guidelines. The Digital Medical Products Act pertains to 3 product groups, namely digital medical devices, digital combination products, and digital medical and health support devices. Medical devices applying digital technology are currently regulated in accordance with the Medical Devices Act. And in the same manner, pharmaceutical products applying digital technology are currently being approved in accordance with the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act. And lastly, digital medical and health support devices or wellness products are currently considered as industrial products without any specific law to regulate the products. However, starting from January 24th of next year, upon enforcement of the Act, all 3 types of products will be managed primarily by the Digital Medical Products Act. The Digital Medical Products Act provides definitions for the 3 product groups. Understanding their different definitions is important because a product using a digital technology may still need to be approved and regulated under an existing legislation if it falls outside the scope of provided in the new Act. The digital medical device is defined as medical devices, including in vitro diagnostic medical devices, and digital medical health support devices that use digital technology such as AI, robotics, and ICT technology. Also, such devices must have the purpose of either diagnosing, treating, or observing the prognosis of a disease, predicting the treatment response and treatment results, monitoring the treatment effect or adverse effects, or product designated by MFDS used for assisting rehabilitation. In other words, if a product is designed to be used for one of these purposes and uses cutting-edge technology, such as AI or robotics, it will be classified as a digital medical device and will be regulated under this new Act. Digital combination product is defined as a pharmaceutical product, including advanced biological products, combined with a digital medical device or digital medical health support device. This, however, excludes devices where main function is that of a digital medical device. For example, DTX that replaces drugs would be considered digital medical device. But if the DTX supplements or supports drugs, it would be considered as a digital combination product. And lastly, digital medical and health support device is defined as a product that is not classified as a digital medical device, but applies digital technology to monitor, measure, collect, and analyze biosignals for the purpose of supporting medical care or maintaining or improving health, or to record and analyze lifestyle habits to provide health management information such as dietary and workout recommendations. So the Digital Medical Products Act regulates these 3 types of products, namely digital medical devices would include AI or VR-based medical devices or robotic surgical devices. Digital combination products would include digestible sensors that monitors in real time the patient's drug intake, or ingestible robot that can release drugs at a specific area, unlike oral or injectable drugs. Digital medical and health support devices would include smartwatches or wellness apps. Structure of the Digital Medical Products Act. The Digital Medical Products Act provides requirements specific to these 3 types of products. The requirement for digital medical devices can largely be divided into those that apply to all digital medical devices and those specific to standalone software. So for example, robotic devices that have embedded software in the hardware, so SIMD, would only be subject to the requirements at the top. The digital medical software, or SAMD, would be subject to additional requirements on the bottom as well as the ones on the top. So companies that manufacture or import digital medical devices would currently obtain such business license under the Medical Devices Act, but they will have to do so under Digital Medical Products Act once it goes into effect. Of course, a conventional medical device company will still be required to apply for the relevant business licenses under the Medical Devices Act. But if they decide to handle digital medical devices, they would also be required to obtain a business license and product licenses under the new Act. IDA and clinical trial plans must be approved, and change approvals must also be conducted in accordance with this Act. And the Act introduces several additional compliance requirements, including cybersecurity, etc. It also introduced requirements for real-world evaluation, which was only previously covered under the MFDS guidelines and practically impossible to collect real-world data. And also a certification system for excellent management, which has been benchmarked on the US FDA's pre-cert pilot program. Because the excellent management certification process goes beyond the scope of GMP certification, a company with the excellent management certification would be deemed to have a GMP certification. Lastly, the Act states that the companies that intend on repairing, distributing, or leasing digital medical devices would need to adhere to the relevant sections of the Medical Devices Act. For digital medical device software, referring to SAMD, they will still have to adhere to all the requirements at the top as well as further requirements in the bottom. The Act introduces the concept of professional use designation for SAMD, where they will have to be managed separately. In this regard, if the SAMD is designated as professional use only, distribution and advertising to general public is not permitted, and it must disclose that it is for professional use only. Matters concerning label and advertising for software and medical devices are currently regulated with guidelines under the Medical Devices Act, but these will now be brought into statute. Determination of conformity to quality management standards, which was previously conducted via on-site and desk audits, will now for software only be required for desk audit, and a clear standard for the audit will be provided. And because an on-site audit will not be conducted for the software, the Act allows for MFDS to periodically conduct verification and investigation on the conformity. The Act also allows for third-party delegation for maintenance and management of the software, and it includes a special provision for standalone digital medical software to allow distribution without a distribution license. Also, such standalone digital medical software will be exempt from certain requirements under the Medical Devices Act, which I will list up at a few later slides. For matters not covered in the Act, such as post-management matters, it will be understood that Medical Device Act will still apply. The requirements for digital combination products also includes the business and product licenses, as well as OEM permits, which all have been previously regulated under the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act. It also mirrors the requirements from the digital medical device part concerning the defense protocol against cyber issues. Again, for matters not covered in the Act, such as post-management matters, it will be understood that Pharmaceutical Affairs Act will apply. For digital medical and health support devices, the Act doesn't require a business license and recommends for the manufacturer or importer to register the product. This is not a mandatory requirement, but rather a recommendation. The MFDS performance certification is also a recommendation. However, the Act requires that MFDS to conduct distribution management for digital medical and health support devices. What this means is that the MFDS must conduct collection inspections of wellness products on the market, regardless of whether the product has been registered or not. And if the product fails inspection, the MFDS can order for recall, disposal, or cessation of sales. Lastly, the last part concerns all digital medical products. The Act provides for the MFDS to conduct impact assessments regarding the digital medical products and may request MOHW for reimbursement. It allows for pre-reviews to be conducted for digital medical products. Performance evaluation on components of digital medical products has been introduced, and this is similar to a drug master file for pharmaceuticals. I will discuss the highlighted items further in later slides. The Act also provides support through education and publicity regarding production development and IP protection. And the Act allows for establishment of an association subject to MFDS approval, as well as third-party delegation of certification, assessment, approval tasks. These would be the general requirements under the Digital Medical Products Act. One thing to note is that the Act stipulates that business licenses and product licenses obtained in accordance with the existing acts prior to the enforcement of the Digital Medical Products Act shall be deemed to have obtained the said license under the new Act. This means that duly acquired business licenses and product approvals, etc., obtained before January 24, 2025 will continue to be valid after. However, future applications for business licenses and product approvals must be made in accordance with the appropriate laws. If I may take a step back and explain how the Korean laws and regulations are structured. The Digital Medical Products Act is the legislation that provides the basic structures outlining the purpose of the Act, definitions, and all the matters discussed in the previous slides. Under this is the enforcement decree, also called the presidential decree. This provides certain details about how the Act is to be enforced, such as details about advertising matters for the software for professional use, Also, details concerning facility requirements for manufacturing and importing businesses of digital medical products, details concerning management of appointed institutions for approvals and certifications, and also details concerning administrative fines. And below this, there are enforcement rules or Prime Minister Ordinance that provide all the other enforcement details regarding the Act. These include the following on the slide. I'll move on. And under the enforcement rules, you'll normally find rules related to administrative process and rules related to standards. The rules related to administrative process is currently being developed and has not yet been open to public. And currently there are no rules related to standards with regards to Digital Medical Products Act. However, matters not covered in the Digital Medical Products Act is understood to refer to Medical Devices Act. So we can expect that Article 19 standard specification of the Medical Devices Act would apply here. Moreover, we expect the standards concerning the performance certification of digital medical and health support devices would be developed in the future. And I will introduce the relevant government authorities. The Ministry of Food and Drug Safety is the administrative and monitoring authority on the medical devices. Accordingly, the Digital Medical Products Act will also be managed by the Medical Device Safety Bureau. Under this bureau, there are currently 5 divisions, and within the Medical Device Policy Division in red, they formed a task force to draft the Digital Medical Products Act, the Act as well as the enforcement decree, etc. And they're currently drafting the rules related to the administrative processes. It is possible for this task force to break off into a separate division in the future. And the Medical Device Approval Division in blue is expected to oversee the product approvals, clinical trial plan approvals, etc. for the digital medical products. And the National Institute of Food and Drug Safety Evaluation is the evaluation body concerning the medical devices. And under the Medical Device Evaluation Department of the NIFDS, the Digital Health Device Division currently oversees the technical document reviews for digital health devices such as AI, DTX, wearable medical devices, etc. We expect this division to also oversee technical document reviews for digital medical products once the Act is enforced. However, there is a possibility that a new dedicated division will be formed to conduct this task. In discussing the consideration and reimbursement listing upon enforcement of the Digital Medical Products Act, I want to focus on the following 4 points. The first item is the real-world evaluation. The Digital Medical Product Act brought in real-world evaluation into law, which was technically already available through various guidelines under the Medical Devices Act. In Article 15 of the Digital Medical Products Act, it is described that the safety and effectiveness of the digital medical devices can be evaluated based on information collected or generated in the process of real-world use of digital medical devices. Paragraph 2, which is important, manufacturers who intend to collect real-world data may provide the subject devices to medical professionals, despite the rebate ban in Article 13, Paragraph 3 of the Medical Devices Act, to conduct real-world evaluation within the scope prescribed by the enforcement rule. In other words, the Medical Device Act prohibits providing economic benefits to medical professionals for the purpose of promoting sales, and this new act created an exception to the prohibition, allowing products to be provided for free or at a discount for the purpose of real-world evaluation. Since the manufacturers are providing the digital medical devices to the medical professionals for free, they are able to request the medical professionals to view or provide copies of the usage records to gather real-world data. This act also provides for MFDS to use the real-world evaluation results for product approvals or change approvals, and stipulates that the detail will be determined by the enforcement rules with regards to subject devices and procedure of the evaluation, as well as methods and procedures for accessing the real-world data. So if we look at the corresponding enforcement rules, it stipulates the subject's permitted scope for the real-world evaluation. This includes all licensed products within the scope of the product approval, also used within the scope of the change management plan submitted at the time of the product approval, and also includes off-label use as long as there's a medical professional responsible, or when it is expected to be more cost-effective, have fewer side effects, or have higher clinical effects than an alternative device. To conduct a real-world evaluation, the real-world evaluation plan must be approved in advance by the MFDS. And for this, one must submit documents detailing the types, source, collection methods, etc., regarding the real-world data and product information, and information regarding the performance agency, as well as matters related to the plan, performance, and results analysis required for the evaluation. It is important to note that such data can also be used to appraise a relative value unit of treatment materials under the National Health Insurance Act, as well as reimbursement consideration. So we can expect a wider usage of real-world data in the future. With regards to the access of real-world data, the enforcement rule states that medical professionals can allow access to the real-world data by pseudonymizing them or provide copies of the data in accordance with the Personal Information Protection Act, meaning either obtain patient's consent or pseudonymizing the data. And in fact, the ownership of the real-world data belongs to the medical institutions. For example, MRI information and CT information in medical institutions are images taken through CT or MRI devices purchased by the medical institutions themselves. And the images are analyzed and annotated with medical knowledge, which are then stored electronically. Therefore, it can be considered that the ownership of the information is with various medical institutions in accordance with the Medical Service Act. Article 19 of the Medical Service Act explicitly states that unless expressly provided for in a statute, personal information obtained while performing medical treatment cannot be divulged or disclosed. And in Article 21, details of patient records can only be inspected by or provided to the patient's family or government authorities upon request. Because of this general principle, despite MFDS and HERA's attempt to make available real-world evaluations through guidelines, the medical institutions could not make available the necessary information. The only exception to this was through human subject research in accordance with the Bioethics and Safety Act and/or through MFDS-approved clinical trials in accordance with the Medical Devices Act. These human subject research and clinical trials require IBC approvals, IDE approval, and/or medical institutions IRB approval, which are all very strictly reviewed and only permitted for very specific uses. Because real-world evaluation is expressly provided for in a statute, real-world data will become more readily available for digital medical devices, so long as the real-world evaluation is conducted within the scope permitted by the MFDS. So what this means in practice, once the real-world evaluation plan has been approved by the MFDS, medical institutions may generate real-world data and provide them to the company. The original data can be provided to with the patient's consent in accordance with the Personal Information Protection Act. But if there is no consent, the data must go through the data review board of the medical institution. The DRB reviews and ensures that the personal information has been properly pseudonymized. This means that after providing the product for free or at a discount to the medical institution, the company can in return request to access the real world data, such as medical records and reimbursement claim records. Also, the IRB review, et cetera, would not be required for real world data collection. And this is significant because IRB reviews are only generally available in general hospitals. So this exemption of IRB reviews allows for real world data collection from hospitals to clinic level medical institutions. This also facilitates the creation of supporting materials to be used for reimbursement criteria determination and market feasibility assessment concerning the medical technology, and also for relative value unit adjustment applications. This would also facilitate collection of data related to innovativeness and technological improvements to be used for value appraisal of medical materials. Next, I would like to discuss the designation of digital medical device software for professional use. This is essentially the OTC and ETC's categorization of pharmaceuticals applied to SAMD. This professional use designation would be the ETC equivalent. For example, DTX that require prescription from a doctor would fall under this category. The enforcement rule provides that digital medical device software may be designated as professional use only when it is deemed necessary by the Minister of MFDS in consideration of the purpose of use, performance, etc. The designated software will be separately managed and will where the product information and the scope of professionals permitted for use will be specified. In this regard, if the SAMD is determined as professional use only, selling or leasing them is only permitted by the professionals within the scope, and advertising is not permitted to the general public. It also stipulates that Minister of MFDS may notify such designation to MOHW and HERA. So when MFDS notifies MOHW and HERA, they will have a lot of information available to them about the SAMD, including the purpose of use and performance and intended user. And they're expected to reference these materials when determining the medical practice definitions and reimbursement criteria as well. Moreover, considering how some ETC drugs are reimbursed by the National Health Insurance, it may be possible for some SAMD designated for professional use to be listed for reimbursement in the future. This slide details the this applies to all SAMD, not for the professional use. It lists up the certain requirements under the Medical Devices Act that do not apply to standalone digital medical devices. And a lot of it is for practical reasons. Next, in Article 40 of the Act introduces the performance evaluation on components. This is significant because this is comparable to the drug master file for pharmaceuticals. And so once a performance evaluation is conducted on a component, such as an API, sensor, or AI algorithm, then if the digital medical product uses this component, the evidence for the component will be exempt during the product's approval process. This is quite significant because so this chart demonstrates the 4 assessment stages for all medical devices in Korea. To briefly explain, in the first stage in yellow, the product's safety and efficacy will be assessed by the MFDS, and all the following stages in blue, the technology or the procedure that the medical device will be used for is assessed. And in the second stage, HERA assesses to determine if it is an existing technology based on its target, purpose, and method. Currently, in the second stage, where many AI-based medical devices are deemed to have a different method when they assess the target, purpose, or method. And this causes them to have to list for reimbursement on a product-by-product basis and not by the medical act or technology. However, once the component can be registered, we expect significant changes in paradigm in the second stage. For example, AI products and SAMs provide B2H services, often using cloud or an on-premise type service. However, we expect a shift to B2B when the components of a digital medical product, such as API, start being registered. This is this is significant because it changes the dynamic of how because this is a software, it has intangible characteristics, and it allows for this one software to call upon another software by value or by reference to utilize its functions. And this we expect to have a big impact on the industry as a whole. The last item is the impact assessment and reimbursement request. The Article 37 of the Act states that the MFDS may conduct impact assessment and impact assessment of the usage and spread digital medical device products on society, economy, culture, and the national health. And the Minister of MOHW may request MFDS to provide the results from such impact assessments. And yeah, based on the impact assessment results, the MFDS may request the MOHW for an expedited review for the reimbursement where a digital medical device is deemed necessary for rapid use to improve public health, and the MOHW has to comply with the request unless there is a special reason not to do so. This is significant because this allows for MFDS to have some influence in the reimbursement process through impact assessments. This concludes my presentation regarding the Digital Medical Products Act and the 4 possible considerations in the reimbursement listing. We expect the administrative rule to be announced in the near future to give more clarity, and I would like to highlight the importance of staying tuned to its development. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Wonwoo. Okay, it was a very comprehensive session to cover for the overview of the Digital Medical Product Act regulation itself and some considerations in the reimbursement listing as well. Thank you so much. So if then let's begin about the panel session. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Leslie Kim, RAQ Director of Stryker Asia, and I'm the chair of the Korea COE of the APEC Men's Regulatory Committee as well. Very pleased to moderate our panel discussion today. And then before we begin, let me introduce our panelists first. So we will have the Wonwoo Lee, who was presented today. He is Vice President and the COO of o.MDRex. And Estella Park, who is Regulatory Affairs Lead for Panelists Korea, and she is also Vice Chair of the APEC-Med Regulatory District Committee. And lastly, but not least, we will have the SS Lee, who is the Senior Director of Government Affairs and Market Access in the Metro in Korea. And he will bring us some insights as a chair of the APEC-Med Market Access Committee. So we are so excited to dive into today's session on that. So let's get started on that. All right, my first question is for Wonwoo, who gave today's presentation. Hello, Wonwoo. Thank you for your presentation again. And okay, in Korea, we have Medical Device Act and the o.MD Act, and additionally, a specific act about the digital product is created, and that is the one that you covered for today. And this regulation will be implemented from January next year, and its enforcement regulations are still draft stages now, though. But there will be many companies who are interested in this regulation. So when they develop or update the current digital medical devices, what specific areas they should pay extra attention to in order to comply with the new regulations? And especially, what do you see as the key challenges in adapting these new regulatory changes?
Thank you, Leslie. Well, the Digital Medical Products Act actually provides a lot of benefits such as real-world data collection and evaluation for digital medical devices, exemption from submission data through excellent management certifications, performance evaluations of components such as APIs, etc. We believe it would be important for digital device developers to make full use of these benefits and should consider reimbursement listings from early stages of development. Also, for companies that don't have a robust distribution channels, I think they can consider registering their product as a component, so API, and to be included in other devices rather than contacting the hospitals directly. I think that would be a good insight to provide.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. If then I have a very similar question, and I'd like to direct it to Estella as a follow-up. And Estella, you are the RA specialist on that. I'm not a specialist, expert. So what specific actions should the digital medical device companies need to prepare for these new regulations?
Before the new law goes into effect, companies should first clarify which products the law applies to so they can understand its impact. Under the current law, all software medical devices that were managed as Category E under the existing Medical Device Act are expected to be managed under the new law. In addition, if a software medical device or its product needs to be imported along with the specific hardware, most of medical device companies need to sell the product in the Korean market as a Category A, considered as a SMD, even it is not. But however, under the new law, it is expected that these products will also be able to be managed as a software medical devices in the future. In addition, if specific technology categories such as medical device with AI, ML, or robotics, cloud functions would be reclassified under the future detailed notice of the Digital Medical Products Act, the management method or regulatory strategy may change significantly due to the impact of this. So it is necessary to quickly analyze the impact of the previous registered products as soon as the sub-regulations comes out near future, and to determine whether the new registration and existing permits can be converted accordingly. Also should be placed on addressing concerns that concepts such as manufacturing sources may change in the new legislation, appointing relevant responsible persons, identifying the impact of the labeling materials, identifying the transition period, and securing relevant resources as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Estella. That was very insightful. If then the Wonwoo, I'd like to return back to you again. So about the innovation, that these two medical devices companies are driving some kind of innovation area. So we are deeply focused on innovation, and some significant advancements are already expected in the realm of the digital medical devices. So do you see these new regulations as a potential burden that could slow down some innovation, or could they act as some catalyst for creating better and safer digital medical devices? And it is balancing for the patient safety with the flexibility required for the rapid iteration in the digital health technologies.
With the real world evidence and the component registration, I would say that the introduction of the Digital Medical Products Act is an improvement to the current landscape. Accordingly, I think it could sufficiently act as a catalyst for the better digital medical devices. However, for wellness products, which are currently considered as industrial products, they will be subjected to performance certifications and distribution management, which may hinder the diversity of products in this area.
Yeah, right. Another concerns we might have, because it is anyway the new regulations on that. So, and then one more question to Wonwoo. So about the global regulatory harmonization perspective, how do you think that these new regulations are aligning with the global standards, like those in the EU or US? Could there be some challenges in harmonizing compliance for companies which are doing some business in the multiple regions?
We believe that this new act provides for a slightly more flexible system than the MDR requirements in Europe or the CFR medical device regulations in the US. It is intended to recognize data submitted for approvals in Europe or the US, while also recognizing data generated by various other methods. So from the standpoint of multinational companies, there shouldn't be any requirements that would hinder the compliance. However, as I mentioned earlier, there are not many countries that currently regulate the wellness products. So performance certification may prove to be a hurdle for those companies.
Yeah, so Korea is leading this area and these regulations in the world. Right. All right, thank you so much, Wonwoo. All right, then let's move to the market access and the reimbursement pricing perspective. My questions are for SS Lee. Hello, SS. Wonwoo has touched some points at the presentation, which is related to the reimbursement area. What's your thoughts? How the new regulations affect the reimbursement pathways and the market access for digital medical devices? Do you foresee any new barriers or some opportunities in securing coverage and reimbursement from payers?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest opportunity presented by the Digital Medical Product Act is its potential to foster innovative approach in the reimbursement determinations, not only for the digital health technologies, but also for the traditional medical technologies. Historically, the reimbursement determinations have been narrowly focused on a few of the core value factors, such as safety, efficacy or effectiveness, cost effectiveness, and budget impact, leading to the strict payment guideline. However, the value brought by the digital health technologies extend beyond these traditional measures. For example, the digital health technologies contribute to enhance the productivity, increase efficiency, and reduce the burden on the healthcare providers. Those are the elements that are not typically considered in the reimbursement of the traditional medical technologies. Recognizing this element, the value factor in digital health technologies reimbursement could pave the way for a broader reconsiderations of how we determine the reimbursement for traditional medical technology as well. Additionally, the evidence requirement for the digital health technologies will likely remain aligned with those for the traditional medtech. While real-world evidence offer the greater potential in the context of the digital health technologies, but I assume that the fundamental standards, such as the preference for the randomized controlled trial, RCT, likely persist. Lastly, this act may also stimulate the importance of discussion regarding the role of the national health insurance. As more the diverse and innovative type of digital health technology emerge in the market due to this act, I believe the policymakers and decision-makers will be prompt to evaluate which technology should be covered by the national health insurance. While defining the clear reimbursement category for this technology may prove challenging, the act encourages the essential dialogues on the scope and capacity of national health insurance coverage. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, wow. If then one more questions about the reimbursement part is that it is expected that the digital medical devices are getting contribute to the personalized healthcare a lot. And then how can the industry advocate for the value-based reimbursement models that reflect the clinical and economic benefits of these digital technologies?
So, in Korea, the interpretation of the value-based healthcare or value-based pricing or value-based procurement differs somewhat from that in the US and other foreign markets. So while the core concept of value-based care, which enhancing the value by reducing costs, is widely recognized globally, but its practical application in Korea presents a unique challenge right now. Operating within a fee-for-service scheme in Korea, it is difficult to design the value-based care program similar to those being implemented in the US. To move forward, the industry needs to present a successful case study and propose a pilot demonstration program to regulators, which can then be implemented based on the mutual agreement. This process should involve generating innovative ideas, engaging in the ongoing discussion with the regulators and the relevant stakeholders, I believe. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you so much, SS. All right, then let me return to the question for Estella regarding the regulatory perspectives. Hi, Estella. Yeah. Okay, last few months for an extended period, the MFDS has been leading the efforts to legislate this regulation. And I understand there has been ongoing communication between the industry and the MFDS through working group activities over the past few months on that. And do you believe this collaboration has led to some substantial changes in the process of finalizing the regulations, like enforcement regulations? And what positive effects that have arisen from this communication approach from that? And as this is my last question, so could you also share with us the MFDS plans for the remainder of this year and how it intends to enforce the new regulations starting in January 2025?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The MFDS plan is not established yet, as I know that, but the details are still under discussion, and the industry expected that it would be released the public hearing stage at the end of the October or the initial stage of the November we expected. But yes, there has been communication through the several working groups since before the enactment of Digital Medical Products Act. The MFDS has also tried to conduct in-depth individual interviews with the advisory groups in order to fully understand the problems that the industry has faced in dealing with digital medical products under the Medical Device Act before, and to address or minimize these difficulties under the new law. I believe that these efforts have helped us understand the challenges of the industry, which we have not understood from the perspective of the regulatory administrators, and have been able to consider a more tailored regulatory framework for digital medical products. And we have been able to consider new possibilities and opportunities for new manufacturers of the digital medical products planning to launch in Korean market. Currently, the MFDS is preparing detailed legislation under the new law, and the industry is running out of time to prepare yet. So, but at the same time, it is necessary to communicate more and think about the better ways to ensure the soft landing under the new regulatory system for products that were previously managed under the Medical Device Act. That is the industry consideration at this moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. All answers on that. If then we have 9 minutes left, so I know that we have some questions which are coming in the Q&A box. I think only 2 persons raised some questions, a lot of questions on that. So all right, so Estella, you already answered on the 2 questions. If then can I read the first question? For existing approved medical device under the Medical Device Act, do they still require to apply license under the Digital Medical Product Act, meaning that the two laws will apply to the same product? And this person was continue to the question, if both rules are applying, is the digital medical devices still allowed to sell since it has valid medical device license, but pending this MD approval? It's already answered by Estella. So Estella, can you answer can you talk about your answers on here?
Okay, let me explain. As I discussed with the MFDS or other industry, as we're doing before, as far as I know that all the software medical device would be transferred from the medical device law to the digital medical product law in the future after the next year. But not only for that, some of the feature, which is the function of the SIMD devices would be has some of the transfer to the new law as well. So it means that not all the product will be transferred, and it would be assigned to the some of transition period to apply to consider the product to transfer from the current registration to the new role. So that's why it would be has some of the confusion stage in the future, but the detailed regulation that what kind of product or features will be transferred from the medical device to the digital medical device law, it is not yet determined by the MFDS or it is not published yet. So we are need to be waiting for the MFDS regulation in the future.
All right. Great. Thank you, Estella. We have just 2 minutes left for the panel discussion. So I would like to pick up the another questions raised from James. Okay. That is about the KGMP and the on-site audit kind of. So under DMPA, can you confirm that the software will only require desktop audit in the future? And for SMD, if it has an existing KGMP under Medical Device Act, that will be valid, that the question is. So Wonwoo or Estella, someone can answer on this?
I can provide some insight. The Act actually states that anything that was approved before the enactment of the Act, of the new Act, it will still hold valid and it will be deemed as approved with the new Act. So to add on to Estella's answer earlier, of course, this Act still needs to be finalized and still needs to be harmonized with the current landscape. But as it is drafted now, we can understand it as if the product has been and the business has been approved with the current legislations, and even with the enactment of the new Act, it will still hold valid until its expiration. And once it expires or the company starts having to handle the digital medical devices, new devices, then they would have to apply for the appropriate license then.
Yeah. Any further comments from Estella you have?
No, not from my side. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You want to? All right. If then for other residual questions, I apologize that we were not able to address all the questions, but we will try to answer on the chat box after the session on that. So if then I'm going to wrap up our panel session. So I would like to express my gratitude to all our panelists for their insightful responses. Thank you, Wonwoo, Estella, and SS for sharing your expertise with us. With that, we will conclude today's panel discussion. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'd like to invite Sunny from KMDIA to give the closing remarks on that. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Hello again. I'm Sunny Wu from KMDIA, and I'm very honored to close this forum with my closing remark. And foremost, I'd like to appreciate all the speakers and panelists for your contribution and time today. When I found the main subject of this forum, I thought, wow, this is very good timing. because the Regulatory Affairs Forum held last month during APEC MedTech Forum was about digital health and its related act. So Director Son from Digital Medical Products Team MFDS joined the forum to share the updates on current and future regulatory framework of digital medical products in Korea. And I hope this forum brings you good insight to better understand Korea's Digital Medical Products Act. I hope a follow-up seminar or webinar is to be held in the near future with participation of regulators when the Digital Medical Products Act takes into effect in January next year. Thank you for your attention and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.